My humble opinion, this comes from Jim, it's advocacy that drives customer success. So Jim, regardless of the fact that you were born near where I live now, you're going to have to prove it to us. Yeah, exactly. Why is it that what is customer success in your opinion? You're going to have to answer that. Mm-hmm. Why do you believe, and can you prove it to us, that advocacy actually drives customer success? And with that, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Great.
Sorry.
Thanks. So I will just go back to 2 out of 3 people surveyed on this question say that advocacy and evangelism defines customer success. So thank you very much, audience. I concur. And
I think it was 4 out of 5 dentists.
Well, yeah, something like that. Yeah. And I'm not going to disagree with you entirely because there are some parts of your presentation I agree with. So it's not just what they say. You're correct about that. And it's not just what they do in the app. It's a combination of those things. So what I'm going to tell you about is advocacy. And advocacy is really the combination of saying and doing at the same time. It's evangelizing. It's spreading the word about your accomplishments in a product. And I'm going to, through this presentation, talk to you about why I think advocacy is what drives customer success. Now, that's actually a little bit of a backwards proposition, right? Most people say, well, you have success and then you're an advocate, right? Kind of chicken or the egg. What I'll show you is we've done some research and studies. We've looked at some customer case studies and we've researched. What we found is that it's actually both. They're mutually reinforcing, kind of symbiotic relationship. That is, the more advocacy you do, the actually more of the product you use. Right? The more faithful you are to the company, the more other people see your evangelism that have a relationship with you, the more they use the product, the more successful they are. So let's drive through it. This is what I call the success and advocacy relationship. There's no question that advocacy, customer advocacy out on the internet, social, peer-to-peer, face-to-face, over the phone, reference calls, referrals, whatever you want to call it, there's no question that drives business success. We know that, right? So I'll point that out here. There's no question. The more advocates you have today, the faster that you grow. Right? The more of a competitive advantage you have built in. What I think most people don't know is that the more advocacy you get out of your customers, the more the product they use. The deeper they go, the more they explore. And because every company screws up, the more likely they are to stay with you when that happens. It does happen, right? They're more tolerable. Right? They'll put up with a lot more. Okay, so the idea is, how do you get this advocacy relationship going? I'll talk a little bit about that. Well, first, why is advocacy so important? Because nobody trusts you. They don't trust what you say, right? They're not paying attention to your emails and your ads, and they sure as hell aren't calling a salesperson. Like, hey, should I buy this product? Nobody does that. Right? They call the salesperson when you want to beat them up on price long after you have found out from LinkedIn, Facebook, social media, Twitter, whatever, Quora, Focus, you go ahead and name them all. Found out a dozen customers that are using the product today that you're considering purchasing. So you're going to have those conversations anyway. And it'll just keep increasing, right? Less and less trust for corporate sales and marketing. Okay? So let's take a look at Ectron, right? Ectron's a customer right up the road in Nashua. They said, you know what? We're going to focus on advocacy. They do a lot of great marketing too, but they said we need to have customer validation for every single value proposition we put out there. And I kind of present this to you, right? This is the Google search. Their biggest competitor is listed there. I won't even name them. It's listed up there in the Google search. There's no question that someone buying this product is going to do first Ectron, and they're going to look on the right-hand side, see all the ads running against Ectron, right? Those are all the competitors. Then they're going to go type Ectron, Sitecore, da-da-da-da. So what is more important for them at Ectron? Is it to make sure that their ad appears, their paid ad at the top appears? Or is it more important for, in natural search, their customer's opinion of those two products appear high on search results? Right? That's what drives customer success. Because A, buyers are going to see this, but more importantly, other customers see this too when they're considering other applications. Say, why is this person so bullish on Ectron? To me, that's the ultimate. I've always advocated, no pun intended, that a salesperson goes into their presentation and types the search and says, I'm going to present to you why we're better than these people on the right-hand side. And the best way to do that is say, here, my customer says X, Y, Z. Okay, NPS, that came up. That's an indicator of customer success. Here's why I don't think NPS is the best indicator of customer success. Right? It's fleeting, for one. And it's not asking the question like I'm trying to point out here. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to go out with me? Nobody asks that question. They ask, will you go out with me? Right? Why do you ask that of your questions? Most people never follow up on the NPS question. Right? And as a result of that, people say they're likely to recommend, but they don't necessarily recommend. So there's this inverse relationship. At several companies I worked at, we had many people with high NPS scores with very little advocacy. But if you look at the other way and you look at the advocates, every one of them have high NPS scores. So in other words, put your money where your mouth is when it comes to NPS. The other thing about advocacy is it is contagious. There's no question about that. There is something within us that says, hey, I don't want to just use the product to accomplish a task. I want to pick a product that's meaningful to me, that helps my career, that makes me shine, that gets me the respect that I deserve. And we've seen this over and over again with customers. So this is a really simple campaign. It's a Twitter campaign. But this particular company, who's Dell Case, division of Dell, just said, hey, we want a campaign. We want to show what this product can do for our customers. And so we're just going to have a simple Twitter campaign. We pre-fill the first couple words. Dell Case means to me, or I accomplished with Dell Case today, and put that out there. Now, they had run these campaigns in the past, and they'd done it in a very sporadic way. Like they suggested to the tech support people, when you have a good experience with tech support, can you tweet that? And they get a little bit here and there. But when they put some money and some organization behind a true advocacy program, suddenly they go from none of these things happening to over 30 of these happening in the span of about a week and a half. And that generates real buzz. And the buzz happens from the first couple coming out, and you kind of see this flywheel thing, right? It starts to occur where, hey, somebody says, wow, somebody else is having an experience. I'm going to put in what my experience is. Okay, and it spreads in
3
that way.
minutes.
Let me show you a little bit again how this advocacy can improve things. So Eloqua is a customer of ours, former employee of Eloqua as well. But they put into place an organized advocacy program. Now, they always had a very good community. They've always focused on community and support and service as one of their differentiators. But when they put an advocacy program that actually actively recognized people for the things they do, with calls from executives, with priority support, with these things that are meaningful, they saw a 55% jump in the interaction rates in their community. And that community is all about having customers solve other customers' problems. It's in tremendous value for them when they use customer advocacy as the driver. And another company, Smart Technologies, who's in the education technology space, it's kind of interesting. They did a whole study to say, hey, what is the value of an advocate? Because they had to build everything based on ROI, which is kind of funny because you never say, what's the ROI on a case study, but you keep writing them, right? Yeah. So they had to do this whole thing. What they figured out is these advocates create so much content and do so much consulting on our behalf that if we had to actually add a value to it, it's worth about $135K. This is for a product, the most expensive of their product line, that sells for well less than $50K. Okay? So that is why I believe advocacy is an indicator of success, number one, but it actually creates success in this kind of feedback loop.
All right.
Okay?